Hey, we're live.
And we're live. Hey, guys.
Welcome to the Criminally Mental Podcast. My name is Kody, or Schizophrenic Hippie.
My name is Zac, or Zac Galloway. And here to introduce our show is the friend of our show and the host of the VT Network, Deadman.
Welcome to the Criminally Mental Podcast, where we talk about mental health and the criminal justice system, with your two hosts, Kody Green and Zac Galloway, currently both on parole and compassionate release. Now, here's the show.
What are you doing?
Everything about his voice. Oh, it's like sweet, painful bliss. Anyway, so as some of you guys know, we're together in person.
And we're super excited. Zac just flew into the wonderful state of Wisconsin this morning. He is so excited to be here, and we're excited to have him.
It actually was a pretty good trip. Wisconsin so far seems very different.
How were the cheese curds?
Cheese curds were amazing. I will give you that. I've had like fried cheese of some sort, but for some reason they're different here. I don't know why.
Yeah, we just eat a bunch of cheese curds and pretend like the rest of Wisconsin isn't terrible. That's kind of how we make it here.
I really don't even know what the rest of Wisconsin is, to be fair.
Amish dairy farms and bars.
Oh, you know what we should do? We should visit some Amish places. But can we visit Amish places?
Yeah, we're in Amish country here in my part of Wisconsin. So there is like some Amish shops we could go visit tomorrow. Which brings us to our next thing. We have so many plans coming up. We have just so many ideas of people we want to collaborate. We do have a trip planned to Chicago on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Really excited about that. We're going down to visit our friend. She's been on our show. She's also, as you guys know, she's huge on YouTube, big on TikTok, Jess Ken. She came on the show and talked about being pregnant in prison. It was a really great episode. I enjoyed it. Kody's been a fangirl of hers for a minute, so I know it was a treat for him. And we're going to meet up with her in Chicago. So that's the trip that we're kind of currently fundraising for.
Yeah, and if you guys see below, our Venmos are in there. It's Schizo Hippie and Z-Galloway. If you want to donate to our trip coming up, all the funds are going to go to our rental car, our hotel. It is about a 5.5-hour drive. Zac is really not looking forward to it, but I did talk him into it.
Why do you enjoy these things? That's what I want to know. Like, what about this like long car ride do you look forward to exactly?
Zac, when you live in the Midwest, a long car ride means that you aren't in the Midwest.
Why would you choose to live in a place where the best thing about it is leaving?
Most of us just were born here and never left, unfortunately.
All right, I mean, do your thing, I guess.
Listen, I'm not saying anyone here is happy about it, but we get by, all right?
That's what I've always striven or tried to go for, you know, to get by.
Just get by.
Get by.
Yeah, but we do have a lot of really cool other things planned. We're going to do some goofy photo shoots. We got Wednesday, we're going to go throw some axes. I don't know if I told you that yet.
Oh, you did kind of mention that, but I didn't know if that was a euphemism or not. So we're actually throwing axes?
Yeah, there's a bar, believe it or not, we can go to throw axes at.
That sounds like a bad combination to me.
You would think so, and it probably is, but until they close the place down, we might as well take advantage of it, right?
That's fair, I guess.
Before someone inevitably dies there.
I just want to know who passed off on the insurance forms for that.
That's kind of what I wondered,
somebody
too.
actually called their insurance adjuster and was like, hey, I'm a bar. Can I add insurance for an axe throwing competition in here? And somebody actually said yes. And that is what I believe America is all about.
I almost think, well, as a business, I suppose you have to have insurance. My thought is maybe they just don't, but
I'm pretty sure you'd have to.
You do have to sign a waiver saying that you're at your own risk while doing it. So maybe that's how they get away with it.
I mean, that seems
probably makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a loophole, but I don't think I would cover everything. It's still a fucking bar where you can throw axes.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, and it is. We got a lot of cool stuff planned. Specifically, our trip to Chicago is to see Jess Ken. And like Zac said, I'm a huge fan of hers. She always has such nice things to say about me and my mental health advocacy.
Oh my God. Sorry, God, these two get together and they're just like, oh, just Ken, I really admire you for what you do on YouTube and bringing positivity to all your messages. And Jessica comes on. She's like, Kody Green, I like how you take your mental illness and you make it into a positive situation for your followers. And they're like, I love you too. I love your work. And then they just love each other's work so much.
That's true. We do. We have a very, very mutual respect of the amazing things we're currently working on.
But it's like all the time. It's just,
I know, because it never gets old.
I don't feel comfortable when people praise you.
Or are nice to me in any way.
I don't like it. It's a trigger for me, I feel. I'd like it not to happen.
That's your trigger?
That's my trigger.
That's what you're going with?
When people are nice to Kody Green, I get triggered. That's what it is.
I mean, he kind of does. Speaking of people being nice to me, Zac, do you want to tell everyone what happened on our first day together making content? Do you want to tell, or should I? Because I'm happy to tell the story, but I feel like you should tell it because that'll bring me so much more joy.
I'm only agreeing to this because you're going to have to tell your own burn. But, all right, so we were talking, and we had a little conversation, like, who's going to get recognized first, when we're out together. Well, it's kind of a dickhead gamble to start with. Anyway, we go into the store, and this girl comes up, goes right up to Kody and goes, oh, my God, you're that guy from TikTok, Kody. And Kody looks at me, he's like, yeah. And then Kody, this is what makes it worse. Kody tried to make it better for me by actually saying, yeah, and this is Zac Galloway. And this girl straight up looked at me and went, oh, cool. And then back to Kody. Girl wants a picture with Kody. And then Kody, again, making it considerably worse for me. It's like, do you want a picture with Zac too? This bitch straight up looked at me and just went, nah. Like, you couldn't even be polite?
That was polite. She said no. I think she
I feel like being polite would have been like, yeah, I could humor this guy. I mean,
yeah, that's kind of what I thought she was going to do, to be honest. Too,
but she was so adamant about making sure I knew that she had no idea who I was.
Yeah, and I loved it. And it was literally, the trip just started, and I'm already having so much fun. And then to feed into that, I did play a prank on Zac that he just now found out about. So here's something rather hilarious. If you're not aware, there's a site called Famous Birthdays. And what happens is, if people search for you a lot on Famous Birthdays, they email you and ask if they can put your information on Famous Birthdays if you're a big creator. Like my good friend, Zachary Phoebe Gallowop here. And so they messaged the Criminally Mental Podcast Gmail account to get Zac's information. And funny enough, Zac, how many times have you checked our dual email account?
I didn't know we had a dual email account.
Even though I've told you several times.
I don't feel like you did. I feel like you think you told me, but I don't think you did.
I did, but it's okay. The funny thing about all of this is when they contacted me, I just figured I'd help my buddy Zac out. So I gave them the information they were looking for. And as you can see here, it says clearly, Zachary Galloway, born May 2nd, 1957. Making you how old?
That would make me 63.
Yeah, and apparently, news to me, that's not Zac's birth year, which I had no idea. I wish you would have told me before I let Famous Birthday knows that you're an incredibly old man.
So this is like a registry for people who are well known. It's like a badge of honor to finally make it to this website. And you made my age on a famous registry 63 years old.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good burn.
That's so good, right?
That's a good burn.
And I knew you would respect it, which is why, I think people always assume because we roast each other a lot that we plan these out. I just want everyone to know he found out about this today once it was live on Famous Birthdays. Mm-hmm. I like how someone in the comments said, wow, only 63?
Hilarious, Olivia Smith.
That is hilarious. Yeah, so Zach Galloway is now on Famous Birthdays. Congratulations, man. That is huge. They even mention that you started the Criminally Mental podcast in 2020.
Oh, I didn't even know they did a little blurb about me, huh?
Yeah.
How about that? Variety content creator on TikTok who is known for posting lip sync performances. Do I do that? Do I do lip sync
You
stuff?
definitely don't. You've done
I
one
guess
or
I've
two.
done a couple. Lifestyle video. I do lifestyle videos, Cody. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Responding to fan comments and more. And more is my favorite part.
And more.
Before fame, oh my God.
Before fame.
Ciao. That's it. No one talk to me. I'm famous. He made his TikTok debut in June of 2020. One of his earliest videos was a response to a fan question about his political views. Wow.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, that's
I thought most of your beginning viral videos were prison content.
No.
Really?
My first stuff was political and just kind of crawled out of there.
Oh, wow. That's a good hole to crawl out of because political TikTok is not a place you want to be.
You don't want to be there. But that's kind of cool. I mean, it's not so cool they think I'm 3 years old.
I also think it's funny that they threw in this weird, like, in February of 2021, he posted a selfie with his grandmother on Instagram for the family life portion.
So yeah. So to describe my family life, there's just one creepy fact that I have a picture with my grandmother. That's weird, right?
Yeah. I also want to point out this comment from your fiance who says, "Oh my God, is that why you asked me for his birthday?" And the answer is yes. That is why I asked you for his birthday, so that I could secretly add him to Famous Birthdays as a 63-year-old man after months of driving in this old joke. This is the ultimate way to finish it. And I feel like you're upset, but I also feel like you're a little proud of me.
I am. I can't be altogether too upset, even though I might be one of the most famous 63-year-old TikTok stars. I mean,
might be one of the only famous 63-year-old TikTok stars. Why not 69? That's a good question.
Right?
That's what he said too. He's like, you missed an opportunity there.
Perfect opportunity.
He was born in 87, actually. So I just took it down 30 decades.
Jesus.
I wanted it to be somewhat accurate. So it's the same day, same month, and just off by one digit. I only was off by one digit.
That's a big fucking digit. You can't, I mean, that's like saying most of our pilots land. Like, that's a big fucking margin of error.
That's true. That's a good analogy too. I like that. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've been up to. He's been here one day and I'm pretty sure he's getting ready to leave at this point.
That's been in my mind since you picked me up. Also, to let you guys know, we are going to have a little portion for Q&A at the end of this. So those of you guys who are in the live chat with us, we'll open up a portion for Q&A and we'll read it out for those who still listen to the podcast too. So.
And this would be a great time to talk about our balls, since we're getting all sentimental here.
It would be a great time to talk about our balls. I mean, I like to at least twice a day.
At least twice a day. And, once in a while, we even mention it on the podcast or social media.
It is kind of funny. Like, I've worn my Manscaped shirt out in public a couple times, and it's funny because I've noticed the people who approach me are usually women.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of like, I don't want to be like, I mean, we are essentially ambassadors for them.
Yeah.
But, I don't try to sell her the product. I'm like, oh yeah, it's something I use to shave my balls. I really like the product. And it's like a really awkward conversation.
I've gotten so many messages apparently from girlfriends and wives who not only buy this product for their spouses, but end up using this product. And you guys, if you guys aren't aware, they do sell an amazing razor. It's called the Lawnmower 3.0. And it's a pretty amazing piece of shaving equipment.
I mean, the first cool thing about it is you can take it in the shower, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Second cool thing about it is it has a light on it. So if you're like Cody and you're trying to find your dick, the flashlight helps to do that.
Also, Mom, if you're watching this, I apologize in advance that you're going to have to meet Zach at some point. But seriously, check out Manscaped. Don't forget to use, you can see our promo code at the bottom here. Zach, do you want to let them know what that is?
Our promo code that gets you 20% off and free shipping is Gallowop at manscaped.com. So go to manscaped.com, enter in that promo code, Gallowop and get 20% off and free shipping. I'm never going to let that go.
No, that's yeah. So Zach, tell me what's worse. Is it the fact that I made Gallowop our code for our sponsor, or is it that I put you on famous birthdays as a 63-year-old man?
All I got to say is my revenge shall be punitive and swift.
We'll see. You keep saying that. I haven't seen nothing yet. So yeah, just a reminder, Zach can finally shave his old man balls. Make sure to check out Manscaped and use promo code Gallowop for 20% off and free shipping.
I'm straight up not having a Baja Blast right now.
You're not having a Baja Blast?
No.
Oh man. So what other things are you excited about? Because I know we've ran a lot of ideas of what we're doing this week, and like not a lot of it's set in stone. So we still got to figure out what we want to do all week.
I mean, I think it'll be kind of fun what I'd like to do is kind of incorporate each other into both of our content. I mean, some stuff that is just specifically our, like on my channel, I'd like to do some stuff with you that is content that you and I are doing, but I'd also like to incorporate you into maybe like some of my skits and stuff like that I do as well. So that I think would be kind of fun to do.
That would be amazing. And I know what you're going to ask. Yes, Zachary, I would be honored to play Shaggy as a fellow schizophrenic person. Is that what you were going to ask?
That's basically what I was going to ask.
I just think that would be super cool. And I would definitely do it. I don't know if I could pull off any of your other characters, though.
That is the one I definitely would have you do, to be fair.
Like, I promise everyone in here, I will not try to pull off Shaggy, or not Shaggy, Chucky or Penguin, or is it Alexi?
Alexi.
Yeah, that one I'm going to steer very clear from.
That would be rough.
Yeah. Apparently, your fiance says we're very pale, and he just comes in and starts roasting us in our own show.
This is my fiance that comes on our show every week.
And just roasts us.
Hardcore. This is what he does. It's amazing.
It is pretty amazing. But seriously, Chicago, I know you're not excited for the drive, but I'm super pumped to meet Jess Kent for real.
I think that's going to be a blast. What kind of content are you thinking about doing there with her? Just
I mean, we'll talk about some prison content. I'd like to do some addiction and recovery content out there. That's kind of her hot spot. I would love to like incorporate both of you guys as hallucinations in one of my like hallucination skits.
Okay.
I think that'd be fun. But yeah, no, I have tons of ideas, and I'm sure we can think of more when we get up there. We also have a 5-hour car ride to think of ideas.
I was thinking if we get Jess Ken in on maybe we could write some skits and stuff like that. Think Gangs of New York, but in space. Hear me out. Okay. Gangs of New York, right?
Okay.
But in space.
No, I heard all of that last time.
So you're in, right?
Yeah. We'll talk about it. We'll work on it. We'll get a script together.
All right.
And so, yeah, we have so much cool stuff coming this week. Don't forget that if you want to donate to our trip or any of the content we're going to be creating, including some wacky pictures that we're going to be going out and taking the next couple days, our Venmos are both below. They're Schizo Hippie and Zac-Galloway. And we do appreciate all the donations. And like I said, we just have some really cool ideas planned.
Also, some stuff that we're additionally going to be doing this week. We're going to be sitting down and really reviewing some of the videos that you guys have sent in to audition to be on the show for this upcoming, I mean, we're not going to call it like a season, but the cycle of guests that we have on an interview.
The stream? I
Looks
think
like
we are.
There we
Okay.
are, back in business.
My God, everyone. I am so sorry. We got it fixed. I apologize for that. What a perfect time when we're both finally together
Yeah, right.
to have issues with that. Anyways, what were we talking about, Jet?
I think we were either discussing your strange addiction to camel porn. We were actually definitely talking about that.
I don't think we were talking about that. I don't think that's a real thing.
Okay, first of all, that's definitely a real thing. Let's be real. If you've thought of it, it's a real thing.
I don't know if that's true.
But I think we're talking about Just Ken. Some other stuff we want to do. We're looking at videos of people, their audition tapes.
Yes, submission videos.
Submission videos.
Let's touch more on that.
Yeah. So as you guys know, if you guys want to be on the show or be someone that we interview, a good way to get our attention, and really the best way, is to make an audition video, preferably on TikTok, and tag either Zachary Galloway, Schizophrenic Hippie, or the Criminally Mental Podcast, and we review it. And we've got a lot of audition videos, and this is the week that we're going to be looking at it, like I said before. So if you want to be on the show, if you have any background in mental health, if you have addiction issues, if you have, a past with crime, if you've been incarcerated, if you're a cop, if you're on either side of the fence, we'd like to hear your story. And if you want to talk to us, do that. Make a video and tag both me and Kody in it.
Absolutely. And I do see some comments in here of people saying they already made videos and we didn't see them. It's hard for us to keep up with a lot of the content when we're not together, which is why we're really, really utilizing this week to look over submission videos. And we're even going to be, for the first time ever, preparing for future videos. So we're going to finally get a schedule put together and have a few weeks out worth of guests, just so we know who's coming, when they're coming, and all that good fun stuff. And we have seen some really cool videos already. We have reached out to a few people, and we're going to continue to find people. If you know of anyone who might be interested, or if you want to help us get a cop or a CO on the show, tag them in our videos. Let them know we're interested. Let them know it might not probably be an ambush, and we just want to talk.
That is a legitimate thing. We were having such a hard fucking time getting a cop on the show. Understandable. We're two felons who are on a show about basically exposing a lot of what's wrong with the criminal justice system. So I'm sure they are hesitant. But we don't want to ambush anybody on the show. We do want to give somebody who's in law enforcement an opportunity to maybe, if not explain themselves, at least explain their side or how things seem from their side. So that's really what we're looking for, a responsible conversation and also a light roast.
Yeah, and absolutely. Same thing with COs. I think we're going to have a little more trouble with that one.
Yeah, probably.
Because, COs were in charge of our lives for however long.
Yeah, it might be.
Whereas cops are more momentary plights in our lives.
Right.
Whereas COs, we will try to ask. I do have a lot of really good questions, things that I've wondered, things like I would love to know what COs think of the whole, or what they think of
how they feel when they put someone in solitary. Or,
exactly. You know, so to have some of those conversations would be amazing. I would really love that.
I still think my other idea for a guest was a good idea.
Oh yeah, who's that?
I still think we should get Eric B. Zink on the show.
I don't feel like he'll say yes, even if we play it off as, oh, we just want to chat. I have a feeling he probably keeps up with our content enough to know how we feel.
Yeah, I mean, because every so often one of his little underlings comes into my content and says something stupid. But wouldn't that be awesome, though? That'd be such a good show. That'd be such a good show. Oh, man.
Yes, and someone also mentioned Not One Care. We do have plans to bring Not One Care on. I've been getting a lot of people coming from his page to ask about that. Zach, I think I showed you his videos.
I know.
He's the fugitive. I don't know what the title is. He captured fugitives, people with warrants.
Fugitive recovery agent or something.
Yeah. So we are excited to have him on. Might be the closest thing we get to a cop for a little bit here.
But he's a good guy. I mean, I know him. I followed him for a while. He's a great guy, makes good content. So we're definitely looking forward to that. But we would like to have, I don't want to say a real cop, but, a police officer of some sort on.
Yeah, that would be amazing for us to get a real cop on here so we could talk about kind of what our experiences are. And especially I would love to ask questions about mental health and the police force, how police are trained to react to mental health, why so many people with mental health issues have the issue of also worrying about the police when they arrive mental health checks should not turn into death sentences, and it's something that I feel really strongly about and would love to talk about. And it probably would be a bit of a tough conversation.
Well, of course it's going to be a tough conversation. We're both from two very different walks of life, two very different ends of the spectrum. But the reality is, I think it's conversations that we need to have. If we don't get the opportunity, if there's not a platform where felons and cops, citizens and cops can come together and really discuss both the issues and some of the assumptions, what hope is there for us? I mean, we're already so fucking divided in every way, shape, and form. If there's not at least some place where, even if it's in a joking matter, we can't come and talk about some issues, might as well just pack this shit up.
Yeah, and I know being 63 years old, you've seen a lot of change, in your life, and things have really changed in the years that you've been around. So I know that I appreciate having your old wisdom on the show.
I will make it look like an accident when they never find you.
Wait, if they never find me, how's it gonna look like an accident?
They can't all be gold. Give me a second. Jeez. I've been on a plane all day.
He's old, guys. Give him a second. But seriously, we do have some awesome people who are going to be on the show. We definitely have many more ideas of people we would like on the show. We've talked about having this trippy hippie on the show. She deals with Tourette syndrome.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And she's one of my favorite TikTokers. Really, really interesting.
What I'd love to start doing more and more of is I'm just basically brainstorming here, but I'd love to find some really not talked about, maybe borderline taboo issues within mental health community and criminal health too, but mostly mental health, like some really uncomfortable topics to talk about at some point. I mean, there's a few I can think of, and it could even be like current perceptions of certain illnesses, like schizophrenia being violent. There's that there's huge misrepresentation that people with schizophrenia are violent, or I know BPD gets a really bad rap for being like, if you have BPD, you're a bad person. And so I would love to have more conversations about that, but yeah. Well, I mean, even to go I don't want to go too dark, but I probably shouldn't even say that on the show, to be totally honest with you.
I don't know where you were going.
Yeah, we'll save that for the post.
I don't know if this is where you were going with it. I would like to have more suicide awareness content and conversations about suicide as well.
That is like a full 10 rainbows brighter from what my
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Well, I do think that is something we should talk about.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm thinking Jazz Thornton. She's a really good mental health advocate who talks a lot about self-harm and suicide attempts. So she actually had a movie come out about it. Super cool.
I feel like I've heard of her at some point.
Yeah. She's pretty big on TikTok now. So
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then, there's other things with mental illness that we could absolutely talk about. I do like diving in a little more to police reform and having a CO on. And I know we've had Jess Ken on several times, and she loves talking about police reform, and that's something that I'm also pretty passionate about. It
really would be great, and we are going to get at some point in time a cop on the show. It's just been hard, and the reality is we understand why it's hard.
Yeah.
If I was a cop, I'd probably hesitate on coming on this show.
Well, it was like we were saying, if two cops invited us on a show.
Yeah. We were talking about that. Like if we got a request to be on two cops show, I'd be like,
yeah, or like,
I don't know about that, man.
It's like a cop and a CO. We want to interview you about your side. I'd be like, that does not sound very enjoyable.
That's fair. We have to give them that.
Well, and that's why I think we're pushing to have someone on the show, but we're not going to single in on anyone or like really try to make someone uncomfortable. I'd rather someone reach out to us wanting to have the conversation. I think that would be bigger. I think that'll have more of an impact. Someone reaching out to us is going to want to have more open-ended conversations, I think.
That makes sense. Probably a lot more comfortable too. Someone said bring on that vegan teacher in the comments.
Oh my goodness. I couldn't handle talking to her for a full 45 minutes, I don't think.
I like to think of myself as being somewhat altruistic, or at least able to, be polite, but that'd be a test, man.
Yeah, I have a lot of love for a lot of people. I can't I can't handle her videos. She drives me absolutely nuts.
It's so hard because I tried so hard to be the guy who's like, everyone's content's their content,
Yeah,
I really tried to be that.
I did
guy,
too at first. Yeah,
like everyone's content's their thing, everyone does whatever. But her every time I watch her TikToks, they make me want to punch a child. That's how angry I get.
Yeah, that's pretty close to how I feel as well. So on top of all of that, we do just want to remind everyone we're taking a trip this week, and if you want to donate, the Venmos are in the bio here. It says Schizo Hippie and Z-Galloway. All of the donations are going to be going to our car rental and hotel while we're up in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything left over, I'm sure we'll do some quirky things for videos.
Quirky?
Yes, quirky. Don't you want to do quirky things in Chicago with me?
To be honest, I don't
get
know
our Starbucks coffee and be quirky together.
Oh, we're using it more and it's getting worse now. I'm not enjoying this.
I think it would be fun, Zachary. Come on.
So someone in the question says, I have a question for the both of you.
Ooh, yes. Let's take some questions.
Yeah, let's do some questions. Let's open the floor up. Let's do a little Q&A here.
It's really hard for us to take questions when we're not in the same place physically, because I'm in control of putting them up here, so Zach doesn't have time to prepare or know what's coming or anything. So we would love to answer some questions if anyone has anything about it. Can be about our mental health, our criminal records.
It can be about our personal stuff,
personal lives.
Yeah, we're kind of doing an open floor sort of thing here. All right, take this one.
Yep.
All right, from Hannah Fuller. Have you thought about talking to teens who have had parents in the justice system and who have been involved with the justice system? Yes, Hannah. That's a great question. We've thought about this and we've thrown the idea around. We're still open to it. This is kind of the inherent problem. We typically don't have minors on the show.
Yeah.
So if somebody was 18 or older, that would be something that we definitely would be interested in. But there's a lot of legal complications and implications, ethical obligations, with having someone who would be a minor on the show. But that is a good idea, and that's something that I'd be open to. What about you?
Yeah, and like Zach just said too, the problem is we market our podcast as an explicit podcast. So it's inherently 18 and over. So we do have to be careful with that, but it's something I'm definitely open to. It's something that I think, when you have a parent in prison for a long time, I'm sure that does play a huge role in how people look at you and your mental health. I think it would be an amazing interview, actually.
Yeah, that actually would be a great idea.
All right. Zach, someone asked, how would you feel about having your arresting officer or your PO on the show?
I would love to have my arresting officer just because we're actually still in contact. Because he saw the transformation from where I went from when he arrested me to where I'm at now. So I'd love to have that happen. My PO and I got along so well. I mean, I don't know if she would have any stories to tell unless we were just talking about her job, which I think would be kind of cool to do. But
yeah,
that's an option.
Well, and actually, I don't think we've ever talked about having a parole officer, probation officer on here before.
No, we'd take literally anybody from that side of the justice system to.
That would be a really good one too, because I feel like they deal with the aftermath, and there are some POs out there who try to get you put back in, but I do feel a majority of them do it because they want to help.
I've only had maybe one bad PO in my life, so yeah.
Yeah, and I had an amazing PO, and then I switched POs and had a really awesome second PO too. So I've only had good experience with probation.
It's just like
officers.
Any job, you get good ones and you get bad ones.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, though, I've seen it with my little brother when he was going through probation. He had 2 or 3 different ones, and all of them were just kind of
dismissive.
Yeah, dismissive, or always trying to get him in trouble.
There we go. And this question I just want to take from Dark God. Zach, how do you handle your PTSD? I'm just started to go to therapy for it. All right, Dark God, listen up. I'm not very good at controlling my PTSD. I struggle with it every day. I do. It affects all parts of my life. I'm just now learning how to open up to my fiance and tell him that, hey, I'm going through, a moment. I'm having an episode. I'm having a panic attack, whatever it is. But the best thing that I've found to do is just to openly communicate exactly how bad I'm feeling in that moment of experiencing an episode with PTSD. Because as soon as you can communicate how you're feeling, you're not so alone in it anymore. And that's a much better place to be. So that'd be my advice to you, Dark God. But I'm certainly not perfect at it. It takes a lot of practice.
Those are really good answers, Zach. So another really important question. As a female, how do I use Manscaped to shave my balls? So great question. I would say that I've had a lot of women reach out to us and say they use the promo code that we have and they use the product themselves and really like it. I do think it's weird they exclusively market to men, but I think it's just their marketing technique. And I do think the product is good for any gender.
A clipper is a clipper. I mean,
yeah, and a good clipper is no matter what you have down there.
Yeah,
a good clipper is important.
It's gonna work.
All right, so we have another question here from Johnny Rook. Do we have any advice for an amateur YouTuber with mental health problems, specifically ADHD and Asperger's syndrome? My advice personally is to jump right in with content, make as much content as possible. People will come to you with what they want to know. So when I got into my schizophrenia content, I told what I thought was interesting, but it wasn't until I started getting questions that I understood really what people wanted to know or didn't know about schizophrenia. And then just make content, because the more content you make, the more you're going to relate to other people. Other people are going to relate to you. I live in a really small rural area, and when I was diagnosed with schizophrenia, the only other person I knew of with schizophrenia was my mom. And so being able to have someone, even online, that I could have connected with over it would have been a huge impact for me. And people love it. Mental health content is growing. Zach was never able to figure it out, but a lot of people were.
Something that I would like to say about anybody who's looking into into making any content, really, especially things like mental health or criminal justice on YouTube and TikTok, be aware that the topics of mental health, politics, criminal justice, everybody's got an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And more so than like a lot of other topics. Like if you're someone who makes dance content, there's only so many people who are going to have an opinion about how you dance. But you will not come to a place where you can say the right thing when you make mental health content or criminal content, because it's going to anger somebody somewhere. And just be advised of that. If you don't get a positive response right away, it doesn't matter. Just get a response. So,
yeah, I think that's really good advice too. Shocking coming from you at your old age.
I swear to God, the second you go to sleep, it's on.
From Kendra D, she asked, would you guys ever talk to college students and their experience with mental health within the school system? I personally love this question for several reasons. The first reason being, when it comes to mental health in college, it's a tough subject because a lot of people suffer their first mental health breaks while in college. For those of you who aren't aware, schizophrenia tends to develop between 18 and 25. So most people that suffer their first schizophrenic breaks, it happens to in college, which is actually my case. So I would love to talk about mental health specifically when it comes to college, because there's so much to unbag there. You know, there's being on your own for the first time, being away from home, depending on where you went to college. There is a lot of learning when you first get to college. It's basically your entryway to becoming an adult. And I feel like there's so much stress with that and a lot of mental health issues that can arise just from that stress alone.
Well, not only that, but I think one of the biggest problems that we have in this country, one of the biggest problems we have in this country, is how we treat mental health, and more importantly, how it's introduced to a lot of us at a young age in this country. Like in college, I know it's like kind of a lot of people who feel like as soon as they have a mental health diagnosis, you know, they're kind of shunned by society in some ways. You know, your friends are going to look at you different. So it'd be good to talk to somebody who's gone through that, have to talk about their experiences. Yeah,
exactly. I see we do have some other questions in here. I see Caitlin Smith here says, I am 6 months self-harm free. Congratulations. That is absolutely amazing. Self-harm and suicide is something I would love to talk more about in the show. And so I do want to say congratulations for that.
Self-harm is such a hard one. I mean, I've never I've never really dealt with self-harm in the way that a lot of people would think. I wasn't a cutter or anything like that, but I would always find people to hurt me, like when I wanted to hurt. So I can relate to that self-destructive behavior.
That's a horrible, that is very, so that's like the worst type of self-harm, is putting yourself in situations where it's going to result in bad things.
I think this is part of me was just like too much of a coward to do it to myself. So I had to like pick fights with someone else to do it to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone says they think Zac looks like he's in his 30s, but you can verify his birthday on famousbirthdays.com. He was born, 63 years ago.
I'm 33 years old for everyone listening.
Are you really only 33?
Yes, I'm 33.
Oh my God. I was way off.
You think? Jesus.
You're not even that much older than me.
No, I'm not even that much shorter than you either.
Well, 5'8".
Doesn't matter how tall I am.
Alrighty. What's the most hypocritical thing that guards do? Oh, that's easy. Call you a criminal and then commit crimes.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. I mean, yeah.
If they're bringing illegal things into the jail, or I know cops that smuggled messages in and out for inmates, that's illegal. And then they'll come and judge you for being a criminal while committing crimes.
I remember I had one CO, versus a DO, because this was in county, and he was crooked. I mean, not like terribly crooked. He wasn't like bringing stuff in, but it was known that you could like slip him something one way or another, and he would, deliver messages or whatever. And one time I called him out on it, and I said, like, man, you look down on me for being a criminal, and you're the same thing. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, nah, I'm different. I didn't get caught. And I'm like, this motherfucker
thinks he's just, yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like with COs, I don't know if they're trained to treat us all like criminals despite our circumstances, because like I've talked about before, I think there are definitely people who belong in jail or prison. If you tried to murder someone, or you've done anything, regarding harm or anything towards a child or someone who can't defend themselves, you probably deserve to be in prison. But there are a lot of people who go there because of mental health reasons, because of addiction, and to treat us all like we're just the worst people on the planet doesn't seem very productive. And in my experience, all it did was really create a deep hatred for prisons and cops and COs. And it's hard when you're treated like garbage. And in my case, yes, I had an accident, but I definitely wasn't like out to hurt anyone.
Well, we come from two different backgrounds. I was actively hurting people.
Yeah.
When I was in my addiction, that was part of my job. So I needed to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just the end of it. The problem, though, that I've found with incarceration is that it's not a deterrent. As soon as you do your first bit of time, anyone will tell you, as soon as that first bit's over and you get out, you can take it. That worst case scenario, that worst fear that you've always had in your head of going to prison or getting locked up, you've been through that already.
Yeah.
And you have this feeling of like, well, fuck it. I can basically do whatever. And it's a weird feeling. And I've talked to a couple different felons about that, and they all kind of had the same thing to say about it. You do have that weird feeling of, oh, I've already been there. Might as well fucking go back again.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's because that's why the recidivism rate gets really high too, because yeah, jail or prison's uncomfy, but once you've been through it, you're like, I could, if worst case scenario, if this was my life, I could do it.
Yeah.
It would be horrible, but I could do it. It's not the end of the world like you think it is, unless you're a child molester, in which case it might be the end of the world.
Most likely the end of the world.
But yeah, if you're just like, I don't know, I feel like every crime, most people are pretty respectful, unless you're like a domestic abuser or anything to do with children.
Yeah. I like how someone in the comments just said, I think Zac deserved it because of the assault, but Kody didn't because of the accident. From Lazy Shrimpo. Lazy Shrimpo, you're pretty correct, actually. That's fair. I will give you that. I
mean, yes and no. I always try to avoid saying I didn't deserve jail time, because there are a lot of factors. I did get in a car accident, but even though I wasn't actively using drugs that day, I did have THC in my system. That's not even why I think I deserved it, was because I was driving when I knew I was way too tired to be driving, and someone did get hurt. And so I owned up to that. I, pled no contest. I took my charge and I dealt with it, because I don't think I'm always innocent in that case. I could have definitely prevented that if I wouldn't have been behind the wheel while tired. And I knew that I was suffering mentally, that I needed to get help, and I didn't go get help, which isn't fair to the other people in the accident. So I don't think putting crimes side by side is fair really either, just because circumstances could be so different when it comes to any crime.
True, but I think in the specific, example of yours versus mine, we do know the circumstances.
Yeah. I know. I'm trying to give you an out here, man. I'm trying to.
I own it. That was me once upon a time.
Yeah.
So the next question comes from Hannah Fuller, or Fuller if you're German. If you could go back in time, what would you change? That's such a rough question, and I get this one pretty frequently. You see, a part of me wants to go back and correct a lot of the mistakes I made, because they hurt a lot of people. I hurt a lot of people in my life, and that's something that that's guilt that I still deal with every day. But at the same time, I really like who I am now. I like who I am now. I love myself. I like myself. I like what I do. I like the life that I live. I love my fiance. I have a good life. I wouldn't want to do anything that would change that. So if I could change anything, go back in time and change anything, it would just be the people that I hurt. I wish that I could somehow remove their hurt. That's what I would do.
I think my answer would be pretty similar too, just because, like you said, yes, circumstances were not great, but now we get to do this amazing job where we talk to people. We're going to be going to Chicago to meet up with another really amazing advocate. We get to travel. We get to meet people. We have fans, Zach. Did you ever think you were going to have fans? It's still weird to me.
It is a bit odd. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's so weird when someone comes up to you in public and they're like, Kody, we love you. Hi, Zach, by the way.
It happened one time. It happened once. When you say that, you make it sound like it happens frequently.
I mean, out of all the times we've been recognized, the one time it happened. So 100% of the time so far.
I've been here for 5 hours.
So you're not denying that 100% of the time people have recognized me and not you.
Moving on.
The next question from, is it Mauricia Moore. She asked, when did you guys know you were having a bromance? Well, you see, Zach found my videos about a year ago when he swooned for my long hair.
What actually happened was he was part of a Make-A-Wish program at a hospital where he got to meet his hero. Obviously, I was his hero. So they call me up and they're like, hey, we got this frail little kid. He looks like a giant, like a big baby in his bed. Can you come and say hi to him? You're his hero. So sure. I come down in a sleeveless t-shirt, rocking the gun show, and show the little cancer kid what's up. And that's how I saved Kody's life.
So the funny thing is my story is way closer, because it wasn't Zach who swooned for me, but his fiance actually found my content and started watching it and forced him to watch it. Because I'm amazing. Let's be honest, Zach. You know what's funny? And I've never told you this because I didn't want it to go to your head, but I'm going to give you this one. Allison followed you before I did, and she showed me your videos too. And I shouldn't have said that, because I know that's going to come back.
Sweet victory.
But that is true. And I did get tagged in your videos a couple times before that, but too lazy to actually go check out all my tags. We get a lot of tags.
We do get a lot of tags. And I can remember going through your content at first when I was getting tagged in it, because the first questions I was always getting, the first time I heard your name was people like, is schizophrenic hippie Shaggy?
Yeah, no. And we got that a lot.
Yeah.
People always wonder if I'm Shaggy. And the answer for anyone listening is no. If you listen to Zach's story times or you watch his TikToks, I am not the Shaggy that he was in prison with. I am a person who's been to jail with schizophrenia. But no, that is not me.
The confusion is understandable, but I feel like we'll keep having to address this just because the question comes up so much.
Especially if we move forward with the idea of me playing Shaggy in one of your skits, then people will definitely be confused. But I mean, I'm all right with that.
At that point, I think it's almost like you have to lean into it. But
yeah, that's true. All right. So the next question is, or I guess it's kind of a statement to start off here. I feel the stigma around felons and criminals is so frustrating. I wish people would understand you're still people who make mistakes. And my biggest frustration is it's not even that we make mistakes. If we're bad people, if we make mistakes, it is what it is. Why not be willing to give someone a second chance? That's why I get so frustrated. Just because you were stupid 5-10 years ago doesn't mean you're still stupid. Like in Zac's case, I mean, he's still stupid, but in a different way.
That's valid. I'll give you that. I think the hard thing about it is, we have our system designed in such a way that it's not supposed to be hopeless for people.
Yeah.
There should always be a way back. If you've done something wrong, if you've committed a crime, there needs to be some hope for rehabilitation. And along with the hope for rehabilitation, there needs to become with a restoration of rights and privileges. Because without those, what's the point of flying straight and narrow? What's the point of getting your life back together? If you're always going to be a second-class citizen, if you're never going to be able to get anything but a minimum wage job, if you're always going to have that on your record, where's the motivation to do better and to be better, if that's the cap of your success?
Well, and it's one of those things that I think people tend to be what society makes them. And if you treat someone like a criminal, it's only a matter of time before they're going to end back up in jail or prison, which is so easy to me to think. I think people should, I don't know why that's such a hard concept. Treat people like they're not uncivilized animals, and maybe they'll be able to do what you want them to do, like go get a decent job and be a contributing member to society. And I think that's what frustrates me the most.
Well, if you force people, two things happen when you force people to look at prisoners as humans, as equals. Two things happen. One, a lot of guilt for how we treat them.
Yeah.
Realistically, if you're making someone realize that inmates are people and have the same rights as them, you have to accept a certain amount of guilt for how we treat them in this country. And the second thing is you force them to lose their feeling of superiority over a group of people. And a lot of people aren't willing to give that up.
Yep. You want to read this one?
Sure. This one comes from Aiden Russell. Aiden? Yeah, we'll call that. Is there any way you could possibly have Chucky or Penguin on the podcast? I'd love to hear some stories from them or their side of the skits. It's possible. I know. You know what? Actually, I don't know if I don't know how I'd set that up. I guess I could do like a phone call. I'll probably try to do a phone call or something like that, but it would have to be done in a specific way. I'll have to talk to Kody, see if we can do something here, figure it out. But that's a good idea.
I would love that because a lot of people think that Chucky's going to be jealous that I'm your new best friend. And rightfully so. I mean, we should find out how he feels about that.
Oh, God.
I think this is a good question. What was your favorite moment from prison? Do you have like a favorite moment?
Me?
Was it Dungeons and Dragons, you fucking nerd?
No, there were a lot of good Dungeons and Dragons moments.
Fair enough.
I remember the first time that I ate a proper prison cake. Like,
ooh, yeah, that's a moment.
That was a moment. It was one of the guy's birthdays, and I wasn't supposed to get any because I didn't put into the cake. I didn't even know the guy, but I was new, and one of them came up to me and he just said like, "Hey man, I want to bless you with this," and he gave it to me, and that I was so, oh my gosh, it had been so long since I had like good food, and even though it was crappy food, it was like a really good prison cake. And it tasted so good. That was probably one of my best moments in prison, I would think.
That's an amazing moment. It's so tough because like every day just becomes such a routine, Yeah. It's hard to think of like really good moments. Like that's why I love listening to your story times. I did not make a lot of friends in jail. I interacted with people as little as possible, kept to myself. I was struggling with schizophrenia.
Oh yeah.
I really couldn't.
And you do suck as a person, so that's understandable.
Well, I don't know about that.
I do. You suck as a person.
Is this because I made famous birthdays think you're 63? Or
no.
Or is it because I got recognized and you didn't?
No, this is just for your general lackluster and lackadaisical personality. I mean, basically the personality of a blank page.
Wow. Wow. I would say that one of my favorite moments was getting out of solitary confinement, that the going in is the worst. That's the worst experience you're going to have in jail or prison, in my mind, unless you get stabbed or something.
Yeah, that probably trumps it. But
yeah. But like, if you kind of have a low key stay and you don't fuck with anyone or end up getting stabbed,
right.
Solitary is a really rough time. Getting out of solitary, I think, because hours seem like days in solitary, and once you get out, it's like so relieving. And just even to get out into the rest of the jail is like
an overload, man. Like,
it is.
I remember when I got out and I was in for a little bit of time. Of course, there's people who have been in there for years. It's really terrible. But getting back to just general population, everything was so loud. Everything was like so in my face. It was terrifying. It was like getting readjusted to things all over again. It was terrible.
Yeah, it is a bit crazy, but you got to admit, when you finally get out of solitary, there's that moment before you get back to the rest of the population that there is like a huge thing of relief. Like, I don't have to be in a small box by myself anymore.
So here's another question we got from Hannah Fuller. Hannah, you got some good questions tonight. What are some stereotypes about prison you'd like to address? I think the biggest one that I'd like to take the moment to really talk about is this conception that there's just constant rape in prison, in jail, all the time. Just rape. This just isn't the case, and it's kind of a really destructive stereotype and a destructive belief for a couple of reasons. One, it really projects this message that inmates are all rapists. Inmates are all sexually aggressive. Inmates are all uncontrollable. And that's not a good image, because most inmates are not even there for violent crimes.
Yeah.
So
a very large majority.
So that's an unfair statement as it is. So that's probably the first thing I'd like to address, because that one bothers me. And I think it's one of the most common questions people ask, like, did you drop the soap?
Yeah.
Like, how many times do you get that question asked?
How many times has Colin Ray made videos about that?
Oh, him and me both, dog.
Yeah, it's insane. And it is one of those things that I think people genuinely wonder about, because it is played out as something that happens all the time. And I think you're way more likely to run into regular violence than sexual violence there. Sexual violence is not taken lightly in jail or prison.
Not at all.
So, and not just by guards, but by other inmates. That's not something that's taken very lightly.
And you guys got to understand, I've certainly made jokes about it. I'm not saying it's, like, don't ever let me catch you talking about this, but it's one of those things when we perpetuate this rumor and this stereotype, we damage the ability for a lot of inmates out there to be maybe seen as normal people when they get out.
Yep.
So that's something that I'd like to work on, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are kind of winding down on the end of our time here. Let's just remind the people where they can follow us, what we're doing this week. Let's talk a little bit about our balls. Let's really get into it for this last 3 minutes here.
Well, as you guys know, we are collaborating all week this week. I'm here with the Greens, Kody and his wife. We'll be going to Chicago, which we're doing a fundraiser for. My Venmo and as well as Kody's Venmo is in the description or whatever it is here. If you guys can donate to help us out and help us get to Chicago to collaborate with Just Ken, that would be great. Either way, stay tuned, because we're going to have so much content and so many cool things going on. We're going to do a lot of cool stuff this week.
Yeah, and we are super excited. We're going to be, like Zach said, reviewing some videos of people we want to bring on the show, people that are interested in bringing on the show. And so we are just so pumped to be able to get together, go through all this content. Zach's a little scared about how much work I'm going to be making him do.
It's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, it's not your favorite thing. You forgot about this trip, so clearly work is not like always.
I made it, didn't I?
You did make it. I'll give you that. I was surprised.
Thank you.
I was holding my breath until you literally got off the plane. I was like, all right, he's here. We're good. But yes, we do have a lot of awesome things planned. We do want to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for allowing us to continue doing the show and continue spreading our opinions, our thoughts about the criminal justice system, mental health. And we are just super pumped to continue doing this. And to be able to do it in person has been really awesome. We'll see how long it takes before we get sick of each other.
What deodorant do you use?
Just Axe. Are you sniffing me right now?
It's a pleasant smell.
Okay. Well, I think that's about time for us to head out. We really appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to check out our Venmos if you want to support this trip we have coming up. I'm going to go before Zach starts sniffing me again.
As a compliment.
It's a weird compliment, man.
It's still a good compliment.
We're done with
It's
this.
still a good compliment.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good day, and we will see you next time on the Criminally Mental Podcast.
Stay woke, sheeple.